Hi everyone, right, so I thought I'd weigh in on this little trend that everyone's following at the moment, jump on the bandwagon, and also explain why I believe Craig is Satoshi. Well, whereas most people are saying, oh, I believe Craig is Satoshi because he knows this and he knows this and he said that to me and blah 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 blah. This is my take on it, and it's just so obvious. Craig is the only person in the entire space that is adding value to Bitcoin. Like, if you think about it, almost every commercial dealing comes down to money. That is it. Why would you do anything if you weren't being paid? Unless you had a desire for it. So, like, you're buying art, somebody created that art, blah 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 blah. But in terms of Bitcoin, Bitcoin only has value because of its utility. If it cannot be used for anything, it has no value for anything. Bitcoin is not art. Bitcoin is literally a digital protocol. That's it. If that digital protocol has no economic fundamental value, it is absolutely and utterly worthless. So Craig is literally the only one giving Bitcoin economic fundamental value. That's how we know he's Satoshi. It's so ridiculous. So let's talk about Bitcoin and the entire shitcoin market. All these things, everything listed, including Bitcoin, is just simply a list, a digital protocols. That's literally all they are. So how can you give a digital protocol value? Well, there's 5 things that have to be in place. First of all, if you are going to start a network, the network cannot be started by a central point of authority, control, or influence, because then that would be a security. That central point of authority, control, or influence would have influence over the growth of the network. It has to be neutralized. So Craig started it under a pseudonym. Not only did he start it under a pseudonym, he also released the Bitcoin white paper before he started the network. Now, he knows, well, I know why he's done this. Nobody else really seems to know this. But aside from the network growing neutrally, the actual 5 pillars of decentralization, or I say decentralization, it's actually commoditization. This is the difference here. A commodity is something that is common to everyone. If it is common to everyone, it cannot have a central point of authority or control. So how do you prevent a digital protocol having a central point of authority and control if somebody created it? Okay, well, let's go through these first of all. Number 1, fixed supply. If the supply can be inflated, if it can be controlled, it means someone has control of it. So, first of all, the supply has to be fixed. Secondly, the protocol has to be locked. So it is permissionless, and anyone and everyone can build on it. So, for example, like Roger Ver and his crony mates on Bcrash, they're always going on about how they need governance. Oh, what are we going to decide what to do? If you have governance, somebody is governing it. There is a central point of authority there. It's absolutely ridiculous. Secondly, we have to have pretty much almost infinite scale. I mean, scale goes up and then it diminishes, further and further and further until it becomes pretty much insignificant. But theoretically, it never ever stops. Never ever stops going up. And the reason you need scale to constantly increasing is because you need new market for the miners to compete for. If there is no new market for the miners to compete for, the only thing they can do to stay in business is to take market share off their competitors. And if you keep doing that, eventually you're going to end up with one large miner taking all the market share off all their competitors as they gobble them up, and then it becomes centralized and utterly worthless. So you always need new market for miners to compete for. It's effectively almost like it has to be infinite. Then you need competition between those two separate bodies, or between those bodies that are economically sustaining the network. If there is no competition, you simply get coercion and they all club together working for their own self-interest. Economic competition is the only way to divide those entities who are economically sustaining the network, and that can only happen through proof of work. And then last of all, how do you hold the creator of a network accountable? How can they be just as equal to everybody else? How can they maintain it rather than control it? Well, this is what's done through a chain of signatures. a signature. So effectively, you've got Craig and Calvin maintaining a neutral network because the chain of signatures are together or are still linked together. They haven't been segregated like they have on Corecoin. So it means that they can't do anything on the network that nobody else would know about. They are equally accountable to everybody, and this is what makes Bitcoin a commodity. And it's only Bitcoin that has these 5 pillars of decentralization intact, and it's only Craig that is trying to explain this to everybody and continuing the network in that fashion, making Bitcoin a commodity. He's the only one giving it fundamental value. He's the only one commoditizing this data protocol. All the others are completely centralized and utterly worthless. That's how I know he is Satoshi. Hope you enjoyed that. Catch you guys later.